They tried to cancel him because he said nigger 20 years ago on a podcast. And what was the? But no, but like the media really attacked him. But no one talks about that he has a black daughter. So it's very hard being racist if you have a black daughter.
I've read about that, and it's crazy. Like people, I don't know. Cancel culture is kind of strange, man. It's just taking the world by storm right now. It's just the easiest reaction is to just cancel someone.
In media work, the suggestion always goes lights, audio, then camera. That's usually the general rule. Lights are pretty cheap. You can get them for about 50 BD.
Yeah. I've found some really good places. Now it's just about studying the room and just like understanding and seeing what is best optimized in terms of setup.
Well, yeah. I mean, with the room, lights are usually a lot easier because all you really need is a key light, a backlight, and a fill light.
Yeah.
And that'll give you a nice like shadow on the back of the head.
Exactly.
And it usually, I mean, it depends on how what's the word, Dan? Cinematic, thank you.
Yeah.
You want, because if you do a traditional style, you want to film from the dark side of the face.
Yeah.
And if you do like TV work and stuff like that, then you want
it's like bright
across your face. So it all depends.
I'm still finding my balance or style, I guess, in terms of video making. Same goes with photographs. I do enjoy taking photographs, but I wouldn't dare call myself a photographer.
Come on, everyone's a photographer.
No, I wouldn't dare call myself, because I know photographers. And I'm okay. I just managed to take a decent picture from time to time. But I wouldn't say I'm a photographer, because I don't know everything that really good photographers know.
Okay.
But it's just something I like to practice and play around with.
La, habibi. I wouldn't say that.
That's the thing. I respect the craft too much for me to just kind of get in there and say like, I'm kind of on the same level as you.
Okay.
I'm not though.
But that we're not saying that. You can still call yourself a photographer without being like amateur or somebody.
Photographer.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You know what the difference between an amateur and a photographer is?
What?
If they're getting paid. That's the only difference.
I'd go so far as calling it a hobby. It's just something I like to play around with.
Do you like doing landscaping, portraits?
No, honestly, just more of documenting what I see. I guess you'd call it street photography, maybe. Just walking around and just like taking pictures of stuff.
Me and you are very similar in this because I love street photography.
Nice.
Whenever I'm in London, I carry my Sony with me. And I have a very long lens, which is about 70 to 200.
Oh, wow.
Which allows me to like
really snipe
people where they're, because it's so candid, because people don't see you. They don't expect it. And you get these very beautiful shots of people just living their lives and without like them noticing you.
There's no interference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's sort of like taking pictures of animals, I think.
To some degree, yeah.
Because everyone's in their own world, and you can just take your time.
Exactly. So that kind of goes hand in hand, I guess, with the videography, trying to just make videos and just develop something new. Because most of my work is in 3D, so I want to kind of appear outside of the
3D
digital landscape. Or 3D landscape a little more, just so that there's a bit of balance, like my creations and what I do as well, like me.
So give me some feedback on this. So you do the 3D. Is this mostly work for in what scope? More for toys, more for businesses, more for personal use?
It honestly is hard to define, because my business is personal. Like I work on our own studio, like me and my partners. And then it comes down to the toys, and then it comes down to like just personal artistic explorations. So it's kind of all in one category, I suppose. But yeah, it's personal, it's for business, and it's also just for like, I guess, creative expression, so to speak.
So what would be an ideal client for you? Would that be someone who's looking to get a toy done for a show or for a set or for a wedding or?
Honestly, right now I'm still kind of in that defining phase. Like in the beginning, I was just making toys for myself, just thinking of stuff and just making them. And then I started to think, well, maybe if I wanted to go like super corporate and just do like mascots for people, but that's not something I saw myself doing. Like, I imagined myself getting paid very little and then spending weeks or maybe even months just kind of going back and forth, and that's not something I wanted to do. I've mostly started to pair with creative brands and artists who wanted to kind of explore these new avenues of it, I guess showing their content or showing their works in some manner that's not really explored or known of here. When it comes down, I guess, to the toy industry, we're very consumer oriented. We just like buy Ninja Turtles and Barbie and stuff like that, but we never
90s
thought
kids.
of
You're definitely a 90s kid.
Yeah.
You didn't say He-Man. You went straight to Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, all these kind of stuff. Yani Batman, this comic stuff, even Lego, and we're just used to buying. We never thought of just making. So one day I just said, let me try. And I just did it. It was tough. There was a bit of a learning curve. Not from the 3D or designing side, because that's a skill I've been developing for nearly 10 years now. More of into, I guess, the challenge. The challenge was in bringing it to life.
The delivery.
That's like finishing a project in like a physical sense and being able to call it like a finished product. That's challenging, man.
And how did you find I mean, you must have either contacted factories in China or Vietnam to manufacture the 3D model for you, right?
Yeah, because originally I was doing them myself with like a 3D printer I had at home.
Whoa, okay.
But that was taking too much time. So I just had to optimize things because I can't just charge whatever I was charging for them in the middle of a really busy work day and then just think about, when am I going to actually make this for them? So manufacturing and going into like bulk production, or I wouldn't say bulk, but just mass manufacturing, but on a smaller scale, is an investment I had to make, both in terms of learning a new skill and understanding how all of that works and how like the production and manufacturing side of things work. And at the same time, is like I'm buying my time back, because I remember in the beginning when I was making them by hand, the Hamur toy, I decided to make 5 in one go, just so that I can kind of sell or just announce that I have like 5 ready right now. You don't have to wait the usual time. Get it while you can. And that took about maybe a month and a half to make.
Wow.
Took so much time.
And so
I hated every minute of it.
How much are you charging them per piece? 150, 200?
Yeah, like it's around 165.
165, yeah.
And at the time, it was in peak COVID, so I had nothing better to do. I was fine with doing that. But then I started to realize, like, once we get out of this, I can't keep doing this.
Absolutely.
Things are going to pick up. So when I decided to do those 5 pieces, that's the turning point where, like, even if it's going to cost me money in the beginning, I'm paying out of my own pocket, investing in my own ideas. I don't mind if it's going to buy me time long term. Because that at the end of that month and a half, I'd go to sleep and just dream of actually painting them just because of how much I wanted to finish. And sleeping was just basically a waste of time at that point. So looking into mass manufacturing, learning all that, learning the ropes, as you'd say, reaching out to different people, getting the product to you, all the hurdles and issues you kind of face in between, all the way from communication, I guess production quality as well, trying to finalize delivery as well, and just like streamlining the whole process. That just took a while, but thankfully it took some getting used to, but thankfully I got to a place where things are like really nice and optimized. As soon as I sign on a client, I know the structure and I can put them at ease and say that this is going to be this way. And for example, the design is going to take this long with some back and forths. And then when we step into the second phase, which is production, this is going to happen. And like expect that it's going to take this long. Because that's normal. Don't expect things to happen like in one month. So I guess keeping up with that clarity and just really knowing your system
Okay.
puts them at ease, and puts you at ease as well, because you know what you're doing at the end of the day. So it's up to you to kind of lead and steer, and then just deliver something that like they can be proud of, and as well as you.
So how does the process start? Do you let's take it to step one. Do companies reach out to you mostly, or do you reach out to firms and be like, hey, you know what, we produce these products? Or
Right now, so far, it's mostly been people reaching out to me.
Okay.
I tried myself making connections, but I guess I'm maybe still not at the level they'd hope for someone to kind of. Well, let me phrase it this way. I'm not at that level myself as well for me to go and like reach out to these big fish.
IBAN or whatever their companies are called.
I have people in mind, but at the same time, I talk to myself and say, if I approached me right now and I'm in their position collaborating with all these huge people that you look up to, would they actually look twice and say, yeah, let's do it? I don't think so right now. So I'm kind of approaching things step by step. I'm going to more realistic targets right now, although I have plans for like I've done like a short-term plan and a long-term plan.
Okay.
So it's all about building the kind of reputation bit by bit. So once it's up there and it's kind of standing on its own, then you can kind of like push even stronger. So but it's not the conventional method of like scaling up really fast and like trying to attack the big people. No, I'm trying to like take this like really slow, doing it almost boutique.
Okay, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Do you do it haute couture? Of course, it's not couture because it's not Paris. But do you aim for a market where it's low volume but very, very high uniqueness and scarcity, or do you aim for a market where really you're looking at scale?
Honestly, right now I'm looking at scarcity.
Scarcity, okay.
Yeah, scarcity, mostly because I just enjoy having something that's is quite valuable to me as someone who used to or still collects from time to time. So I just want to be doing that myself as well, and with the ideas I have in mind and the things I kind of create and think of. So that's the kind of route I wanted to take. So if I was going to do like super mass manufacturing, making like hundreds of thousands of units of many different varieties and then just like go to the major retailers all over the place, that would have been a completely different strategy, and it's not something I wanted to do, honestly.
Well, do you have a website that you sell your pieces from? Or?
Yeah, I do.
Dan, can you look it up?
It's gotoyo.com.
Is it maybe in the link tree?
Yeah, it's in the link tree, yeah.
So for our audio listeners,
it's www.gotoyo.com. GOTOYIO.com. It's no, hold on. There's an I-O at the end, so it's I-O. No. Wait, go back. So right. I'll spell it once more. GOTOYIO. Yeah, .com.
It's just basically the same as the Insta name. That's just
because someone apparently has Toyo.com.
Yeah, so I mean, I would be surprised if you had GoToyo. I was going to be like, what? Ooh, cute. Okay. Yeah. I've seen some of your toys. By the way, we can talk about NFTs as well, because I don't trust NFTs, but I'm hoping you can sell me on them.
It's a mixed bag, honestly.
Can you go and shop? Let's check it out. I mean, the website is very functional. It's very good.
Yeah, it does the job, honestly. Yeah, I like to fiddle around from time to time on it.
I like the Kraken monster. That's cute.
Yeah, I've all sold out from that one, but that's something that's a design I decided to explore with using NFTs as well. So I just decided to play with physical toys and I guess digital toys and bridge them together.
Are you getting sales from any international clients?
Surprisingly, yes.
Really?
More
domestically.
More than GCC based.
Really?
Yeah, but out of the GCC, more orders have gone to Kuwait than Bahrain and Saudi. Like I've shipped as far as the US and the UK as well.
That must have been a headache.
No.
Really? That was very easy process?
Yeah, it's easy. Just package it up.
Khalas? You didn't have to deal with DHL and all this headache?
Only at a certain point in time. I faced a bit of issue with Aramex for orders going to the US. They wanted an ID copy from the customer and all of that. And the last thing a customer wants is just like another hurdle.
More friction.
More friction, yeah. Like the last thing you want to do as well as someone who's selling, like, hey, sorry to bother you. Just could you send me your ID?
Yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
People aren't comfortable with that. And I tried telling them, like, are you serious? Why are you asking for that? You already have the name, you have the address. You can ask for that once you arrive yourself. It's better than me asking because you want it.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
Also, he's your client, no?
Exactly.
I mean, if he's making the purchase with American Express is contacting you. You're barking up the wrong tree with that.
Exactly. But right now, I think that's kind of done and dusted. They've stopped asking a long time ago. It's just happened like once or twice. And then other than that, I just look for another shipping alternative, pay the extra fee out of my own pocket just to kind of remain professional, and then have it sent easy.
Mashallah. I think it's great. Can you open the Gilgamesh? Is that the correct pronunciation?
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh is the correct pronunciation.
Yeah. That's a one-of-one toy.
That's one-on-one. So that's do you have it signed at the bottom?
No, but I can.
Oh, okay.
Although this is going to be made to order.
This is made to order.
Because I've made only one prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of create content and advertise.
Mm-hmm.
But then, unfortunately, it got destroyed.
Uh-oh.
So now it has to be made to order.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was ready to buy. But yeah, this is something I was commissioned to do for the expo in Dubai by the Bahrain Culture Authority here.
Mashallah, Habibi.
So it was a fun experiment.
But why Gilgamesh, if you don't mind me asking?
Because they had a project, or their brief was a cabinet of curiosities, and they wanted to kind of explore.
I'm not used. Dan, switch back to the.
They wanted to explore the ancient Dilmunian civilization, or they also gave a preset of 4 stories.
Right. Yes. Because Bahrain's old civilization was the yes.
So they had 4 stories for the artist participating to pick from, and then I picked the one that I connected to with the most, or saw the most potential with, and that's the one I explored, and it happened to be Gilgamesh.
Because I remember now, because most Bahrainis don't even know this, that in the Dilmun society, Bahrain was so, they claimed to be the heaven, the paradise, but it's never been confirmed. And the Dilmun society went, I think, from Bahrain all the way to almost Kuwait.
I think so.
Yeah,
maybe even as far as like Iraq. I think
Iraq as well. I think it's like a regional place, and but there's not a lot of historians account on it from what I remember, because the civilization was. Can you look up the Dilmun civilization, Danny? I think it's 5,000 years old.
Yeah, around 5,000 to 4,000.
Because the first reference in history, 3,000 millennium. Yeah, sorry, 3,000. But the first reference to history is Dilmun was conquered by the Middle Eastern Empire in 1365 BC. Can you scroll down, Danny? I remember reading an article that wasn't on the Wikipedia, but we'll go with Wikipedia for now. 2050 BC was its heyday.
Yeah, so then it must have gone even further back.
Because it was part of the Mesopotamian society. I have that statue, one of those like copper heads, bull heads.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's one of the most iconic ones.
Yeah.
So one people kind of connect to quickly. Yeah, see the Garden of Eden theory.
Yeah. Because I remember that the first accounts of the Dilmun society was 1,400 years ago, like something ridiculous like that. That's the first like written piece that survived. Yeah, founded circa 4,000 years ago. All right, go back to Gilgamesh. We're getting off track. Show me your NFTs.
These NFTs were part of a collaboration I did with Bawa, a gallery based in Kuwait.
Mm-hmm. This is very Kuwaiti.
We,
You don't agree?
I don't know. Maybe you see something different, but yeah, these 4 pieces were created as a part of an NFT exploration with Gallery Bawa, and we did these in editions, so they're all editions of 5s.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to kind of be quite playful and use the characters I've made as toys, and create these compositions, I suppose, and try to keep things consistent in terms of like framing, but just play around with the different elements.
You've got real skill.
Thank you.
You've got real skill. That's
you.
beautiful animation.
Thank you so much.
You need a little bit more work on your lighting though, but other than
Yeah.
that, it's really good.
I
Especially
agree.
that reverse rotation with the cookie going the opposite direction.
Yeah, that took a bit of fiddling
Around with it. Yeah. So what's I don't know what's the current I don't know what 0.1 means. $132.
That's 0.1 Ethereum.
Oh, it's Ethereum. Okay.
Yeah, it comes up to $132 at the current price.
Are you big into crypto?
Crypto, no, not so much. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. I have a bit myself, but not like too much to make me a millionaire overnight, like you hear. But it's definitely an interesting field. There are times where I actually prefer it over actual currency when dealing with like international transfers and stuff like that, with banks holding payments sometimes for weeks. Otherwise, with crypto, you just like boom, send, it's done. But I appreciate it, and honestly, it's a huge game changer. You can't really deny it. Yeah, you can't deny it. But crypto, maybe not as much as the actual like blockchain itself. That's what's holding things up in terms of like arguments when it comes down to looking at the whole thing when packaged as well as NFTs.
Because we've had like almost 50 people on the show now, and a few of them have been crypto fanboys, some of them haven't. You're the first one who's ever made a good case for it, by the way. You're the first one of all the people.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. Most of them are just like circle jerks where they're just like hold it. Like we had this one guy on who's like hold and die.
Yeah.
And he's got like a whole WhatsApp group with his friends.
Yeah.
And they all like talk to themselves, be like, no, don't sell. It's going to like, what are you doing with your time?
People, it depends on how you choose to use your time, I suppose. If that works for you and you're making money out of it, then go for it.
But they're not. You're just holding it.
Hold until you die is like the worst strategy ever.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have to be smart about it sometimes. Like, and that's something I learned as well, holding until I thought I'd hold until I die. But then I said, you know what, this is not working. I just
it's not viable.
Take profits whenever I can, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, especially in a volatility induced market.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. The guy was like telling to me like, I can retire right now. And I was like,
then why don't you?
Good.
Invest in other stuff too.
Do it. Yeah. Live on. Do other things. And he's like, yeah, but it could go up. And I was like, well,
but it could go down just as much. These people who just sit on uncertainty the whole time, it's unsustainable. I don't think that's a very smart move. Like, okay, you are smart enough to make that much, but just also use it wisely.
But is it smart or is it just like blind luck?
Depends.
You think so? It depends?
Yeah, some people are really smart about it. Like they analyze and sit down and look at charts and read all about it and really monitor its progress and just like almost as if they're day trading. But the people who just like, ride the wave, hold until I die, like you said.
I mean,
that just doesn't work.
Habibi, even Warren Buffett says he doesn't buy stocks, he buys companies, right? I mean, he because everything in the market is priced in. Yeah. So he doesn't try to play the market and game it.
You're buying performance at the end of the day. You're buying a reputation.
Absolutely.
So once you have that sorted and it's carrying itself, regardless of the hype, whether they hate it or not, it's still working. And there are people who are putting in the time and effort to actually make sure it goes even better. So you're buying into the company, or you're buying into the reputation, you're buying into kind of
the dream.
You're not buying into hype. Buying into hype, you're just kind of putting yourself in a corner, easily gonna get dropped by like whales dumping their
Pump and dump.
The pump and dump, yeah, and then you're like sitting there saying, "Oh, what did I do to myself?"
I had this conversation with a guy, and he was telling me, he was like giving this whole speech and being like, "Oh, you have no idea. It's so the market is so much liquidity. There's so much opportunities of making cash." And he was like, "Here, come join our gang. We do pump and dump and stuff like that." And I'm like, "Dude, that's fraud. That's fraud. What you're talking about is market manipulation."
They're playing around with people's money.
I mean, like you can dress it up as much as you want, but it happened with junk bonds, or high yield bonds as people call it now. Sooner or later, the SEC will look at these things, and they will take 3 to 4 of the biggest villains, the pump and dump schemes, and they will slap them so hard that their head is going to twist.
Exactly.
That's just a question of when.
Yeah.
Not
it's
if.
just how long you last.
Exactly.
It's just how long you last. But think about it. Even in a regular day, making good calls and just taking things really ethically, aside from pump and dumps, you're making money is other people losing it. So there's no reason to kind of accentuate that and amplify that even further by just being obnoxious about and making that your plan.
Listen, I'm all for making money, and I hate getting between a man and his food. That's fine to me.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
My problem is when you're committing fraud, right? That's there's a difference.
When you're manipulating it, doing it unethically, and like kind of pushing people towards purposely losing money, then that's the problem. Like it's highly unethical.
It's the same as if a CEO, right, is because normally it depends on which market you're operating, but normally you have to give a 3-month window. You have to tell the market, hey, the CEO is selling X amounts of personal shares into the company, right? They have to make an announcement. Now, it's totally unethical and it's downright fraudulent if the CEO waits 48 hours or 24 hours before his sale call is on, that he goes and then releases great news in order to jump up the price of the stock. Or if he's planning on purchasing, again, he has to normally give an announcement to tell terrible news in order to buy low.
It's great for the CEO, though.
It's great for the CEO, but it's again market manipulation. It's
true. Nothing.
Apple was recently in trouble because they were sending recordings from what they took from your phone into a human farm, as in like a data center, where people were listening in and then doing corrections. And they claimed, Apple, that they was accidentally triggered.
They're making too many mistakes.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
They're making too many mistakes.
Hundreds of thousands of recordings accidentally. Whoops. It just happened. Yeah,
excuse us.
Sorry that we have a data center having people listening into the conversations.
Exactly. It's crazy. Like it's crazy how once you reach a certain point, I feel like people would end up being the same or going down the similar route, where I feel like everyone after they reach a certain point, it's just completely unhealthy. You kind of go crazy.
Absolutely.
Because you can do anything you want.
Absolutely.
Like, okay, it's great to have millions and enjoy your life and like secure the rest of your family for like generations. But at the same time, like there's a limit, I guess, where if you pass that, what's left? What's left to do?
I agree, but this is the crazy thing, because I remember reading about some of the guys who was caught with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, and they said we wanted to be caught like recording, because Jeffrey Epstein was doing all the recordings and he was getting those young girls in, and then those people like those billionaires and stuff like that would have sex with these like 14, 13-year-old girls, and the reason they said they wanted to be marked was because then if you're in shit, well, I'm in shit.
We're all together.
We're in together.
Yeah, you have to protect me.
Exactly. Yeah. So people were actively trying to get invited to go.
That's crazy.
Just to be part of that network.
That's crazy, man. It's disgusting.
Fakka.
Yeah.
Fakka. It's to that يعني درجة.
I'm telling you, once you reach a certain limit, like after you break through that kind of soft ceiling, you go crazy.
Danny, can you look it up? There's a picture of Jeffrey Epstein having with the Clinton. What's the guy called again?
I think I've heard of that. Although I don't really know much about this.
Bill Clinton in a dress.
Oh.
So this is an artist rendition because supposedly Jeffrey made Bill wear a female dress and heels and took a picture of it.
That's crazy, man.
And this is an artist rendition.
You could basically make the president do that.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think about?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about all of this story. I've just heard bits and pieces here and there, but enough to kind of just get the idea.
The idea of it, yeah.
But
it's some wild stuff, man.
I'm telling you, man, yeah. Once you reach a certain kind of level of wealth, you just go crazy. You just go nuts. I don't know how to...
I think you get like so scared of people like taking away from you that you actively like...
Just destroy your life.
Just destroy your life, yeah. I mean, for fuck's sake, like Jeffrey Epstein was like friends with Bill Gates, Elon Musk. He hung out with Steve Jobs.
It's
like
crazy.
I mean,
it's crazy how all of this has happened, and then
people are like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah, that's fine. We're all good. Yeah.
Yeah. Hang out with Donald Trump all the time. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's fine. There's nothing to look at.
It's. Yeah, dude. I don't know what to tell you. It's wild. Do you not like? This is one of the things that I worry about, is that when توصل درجة, both financially, mostly financially, what happens is that you lose your anonymity and your privacy.
That's true. You
Regardless.
kind of almost become like a celebrity for having that wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how quickly the media will try to push you down.
Yeah.
Look at Joe Rogan. Like he's been doing it for 20 years, doing a podcast, chilling, not like getting into trouble.
Laying low and just doing his thing.
And then people are just been like for 3 weeks almost just attack.
Really?
Yeah.
He pops up every now and then, but I haven't been like following him for years. But I know who he is. I know what he does. I've seen a couple of bits and pieces of his podcast as well, and the guy's just doing his own thing.
Habibi, they tried to cancel him because he said nigger 20 years ago on a podcast. And what was that? But nobody, like the media really attacked him, but no one talks about that he has a black daughter. So it's very hard being racist if you have a black daughter.
I've read about that, and it's crazy. Like people, I don't know. Cancel culture is kind of strange, man. It's just taking the world by storm right now. Just the easiest reaction is to just cancel someone.
That's the crazy part about it, Habibi. It's so crazy. And so we're getting away from your business. Can we go back into Toyo, Danny? I'm kind of tired of seeing Bill. Can you open the marketplace?
This is, keep in mind, just one of the platforms I've listed my work on. So I've got plenty more on Foundation where you'd have a...
Okay, because this is not you. This is other artists.
No, this is the general marketplace.
The general marketplace. Okay.
It's crazy how much quality has come into the art space or the crypto art space.
Yeah, I mean it's
incredible.
It's really amazing. So where do you feel yourself moving towards? Do you want to go more into the toy direction, or do you want to go more into the NFT world?
I want to focus on toys more, like physical pieces of works.
Interesting.
Even though I'm I guess 80% digital creator, I still enjoy working with my hands. I like making stuff. When I was in university, I was just always in the workshop making like wood models and stuff like that, and it's just something I enjoy. I just enjoy making stuff with my hands.
Well, have you ever thought about, can you go back to the toys, Danny? I don't like calling them toys. Models, I think, is the correct terminology, or action figures.
I suppose collectibles would
be, yeah. Because I think it degrades them just calling them toys, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Although I've come to learn of the term when I first started that they call them designer toys or art toys, where it's just kind of on a separate category and not just like Toys R Us. Grab and go and that's it. It's a little more valuable. There's a more artistic kind of backing to it.
Sure, and I think the words you choose to describe your product makes a huge difference in how people frame
kind of brand yourself.
Absolutely. Well, have you ever thought about taking your stylistic choice and then taking, let's say, some of the top icons of the industry, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, blah blah blah, doing a limited run set of 5 pieces or 3 pieces that you don't even sell, you auction for a charity, you get that kind of inertia to you.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's just building that momentum.
building that momentum. And the best thing about it, it's very, very difficult to send you a cease and desist if you're not making a profit from it, but from a charity.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to touch that. No one wants to look like, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
we're trying to take money.
Don't be good.
Exactly.
Don't be good. Just because of our identities.
Exactly. So I think especially if you do like 3 pieces of Elon Musk.
I've thought about that, but there's a thing. I just don't know if I want to do it though. I don't know. It's just not something I find, because I know I'm gonna start it. I might convince myself at the beginning, but then I'm just gonna get bored halfway through and stop. That has to excite me from A to Z.
Okay.
If it doesn't excite me from A to Z, I'm just gonna stop and start something new. And trust me, I've done it.
وحاولت وما وصل.
I've done it. Not this idea, but I've done stuff like that. Like, oh, that's gonna be fun. It's gonna get me some traction. I started I don't want to do this. Have something else I want to do. It's more fun, and I just do it.
Well, you've got 3 pieces now. What's in the workshop right now?
I've created a bunch of other characters to go along with like Karak, with like Halwa, and the other ones you saw on the NFTs.
Can you look on the Instagram? Maybe there's something there.
But those I wouldn't go ahead and call them finished products, because I've mostly focused on Karak and Hamur. But I'm working on other designs. Right now, I decided to kind of take a step back, mostly just to kind of focus on putting in the work, I suppose, and less selling. In the last year or so, I've just been focusing on just trying to get the work bought, that I've stopped actually like creating. And I feel like that's kind of taken me a few steps back, because when I was just focusing on putting in the work, that's when everything was happening. But it's almost paradoxical in a way where you try to do something and you just kind of push for that one thing, it just doesn't happen. But when you just
let it flow,
everything comes and more. So I just decided, you know what, stop selling. That'll come later, whenever it does. Just do what you want to do and create and just focus on the work. Just put in the work and everything will come.
Have you thought about getting a business partner that does the focus and sales side for you and really just pushes that envelope so you can concentrate on the creative side of things?
I have, although I don't feel like it's something I want to look into right now. I don't feel like that's something I'm ready to explore just yet. I feel like this is still at its infancy. I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do with this and the bigger picture. I feel like once I answer those questions between myself and I, then I'll be able to take that kind of concise decision and really push things forward. But right now it's more of the self-exploration phase of that brand or company.
But Habibi, you know, كل حاجة عنباك, and who you are اليوم is not who you are tomorrow.
That's also true.
صح?
That's also true.
And Habibi, the enemy of good is perfect.
I'm not looking for perfect. I've beaten this lesson into myself a long time ago. So I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for clarity right now. Plus, with all the other obligations and stuff I'm handling from a day-to-day basis, it's not something I can add on to my plate right now. So once I have that clarity and I have that time freed up, then I'll be able to focus a lot more on that kind of thing and scaling. So the last thing I want is like putting too much effort into it right now and like growing it to the point that I can't handle, at least personally at the moment, with all the like work family life balance I'm trying to keep. It's been intense, but it's definitely in the plans, although I don't want to force myself and hate it later.
Well, how do you divide your time at the moment? So do you have a second job as well that you're working, or do you full-time concentrate on this?
No, we have a company, we have a design studio called Shepherd Studio. It's me and my partner, who's my cousin and a friend of ours. Okay. And also we have a partner in the UK who you met through uni. Yeah, that's the page. So we focus on all of our backgrounds are in architecture, although we do work with furniture design, product design, experiences and pavilions. So it really is, I suppose, transdisciplinary when you come down to it, but all kind of in the field of design. And that's pretty much our day job. And when I say day job, sometimes it bleeds into the rest of your day. Sometimes when you have like a really heavy proposal or working on a big project. But aside from that, all of the artistic efforts that I do on a personal level all happens afterwards. Like after we're done with the work, whenever I have time on my hands.
So who's the main clientele for Shepherd's Studio? Shepherd Studio.
It's mostly a mix of private and government, but we have worked with a lot of governmental entities here in Bahrain, as well as in Saudi Arabia, and a few private clients in Dubai as well.
I mean, I really like your design language.
Thank you.
Or your team's design language. I don't know who's in charge of it.
It's a collective effort.
It's very nice. It's very, very nice. I wouldn't know how to categorize it in the right formality.
That's the thing, because we can't say architecture, we can't just say product, we can't just say furniture.
You know what you remind me of? That German art studio, Bauhaus.
Oh yeah.
You remind me very much of Bauhaus.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. I've never heard someone make that. It's BAU. Yeah, Bauhaus. Yeah.
And then images.
I haven't seen anyone make that connection before, so it's.
Well, I don't think a lot of people will know who Bauhaus is.
Well, a lot of people in the industry, I suppose. Yeah.
Because what made me say Bauhaus was, if you go back to the Instagram, Dan, if you scroll up, down a little bit, down a little bit, down a little bit, that right there.
The
Bahrain
red circle,
red circle, and then with the furniture of the chair, that clicked in my brain very much.
Yeah, we like to play around with diagrams quite a lot. You just kind of illustrate things sometimes a lot clearer than a render, where you can be quite ambiguous and get away with things.
How long did it take you to learn how to use white space correctly?
It's still a learning process.
Right.
This visual wasn't done by me. It was done by my partner. He's the illustrator master.
Okay.
I'm still an illustrator apprentice. I'm more into 3D.
Because I know how difficult it is to correctly use white space.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of have to force yourself to like let it be.
Exactly.
Don't fill it.
Exactly. And
unless you need to.
And then you have to also make sure that it's pleasant enough for the eye without having so much information that you're.
So it's all about balance. You have to kind of balance the different elements that you're having a look at.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
We started exploring another division in that side, but we do have regular projects and work in Dubai as well as Riyadh at least once a year. That's recurring for the last 3 years or 4 years now. So. We are present in those places. We wouldn't say we're based in Bahrain, although we're like present pretty much all over الخليج, I guess. مثلا Oman and Kuwait. I don't know. Yeah, they've got a lot going on there. Maybe that's why they're not calling us just yet.
I mean, it's a difficult conversation to have. I mean, we had Jamil, the CEO he's one of the new CEOs from Kanu, was it, Danny?
K-Soft.
What was the company?
K-Soft, which is a subsidiary of Kanu.
Yeah, K-Soft. So it's a new branch from Kanu, and he came on the show and he was talking to us and saying, "Listen, our headquarters are in Bahrain, but our business is in Riyadh."
Yeah.
And that's life. And the headquarters they have here is a showroom basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
What the real business is happening is in Saudi.
The bulk of the projects that we do, that carries weight, I suppose, is mostly in Riyadh. We're there like for a month or so every year, and then we just come back and then we just play around. So people just like are always questioning like, "Oh, are you only working in Bahrain? Is this what you do?" Like, la. We spend a couple of months working on these heavy hitters, finish them, and then we just kind of explore what we had on the shelf. And that kind of mentality, I feel like that's why it's like I hold it in such high regard, and that's what is disappointing when you hear people think so low of Bahrain's quality or output.
But it's a domestic issue, right? I mean, it needs to be re-education. And if I'm happy to bet with you 500 BD. But if me and you take the exact same handbag and I say it's made from Paris and you say from Bahrain, and we go to the city mall I think we'll see in the sales. We can see,
Yeah, no,
right? We'll see in the distribution immediately.
yeah. It's kind of a branding issue, huh?
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these things can only be fixed with producing high-end quality, really goods, and then using a lot of PR to really drive that home. You know, why is haute couture so famous? It's because Paris makes sure
That's
to
kind
make
of where it was born, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They really push that dialogue.
It's a Parisian thing.
Exactly. And so Bahrain could do, I don't know, Bahrain couture, I guess.
Imagine.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? And I think that would be the easiest way to capture a larger market.
I think so, yeah. It's just more about, yeah, like, I don't like using the word exposure, but just like getting the idea out there or getting the word out more. So maybe just marketing it.
Well, I mean, the U.S. is also very smart. What is it? 8 out of 10 biggest banks are headquartered in the U.S., right? I mean, so almost all the funding of the world goes there. If you talk to a VC in the GCC region, they only talk about what companies? American companies,
Yeah.
Netflix, Apple,
right.
Disney, Google.
Yeah.
So there's, يعني في سبب.
They've set a big precedent.
Exactly.
Where they've dominated. So it's hard to imagine something of such high stature and standard anywhere outside of where they are. So it's almost as if like all the big players are on the same field. But
Your example exactly, right?
Yeah.
What did you just say? It will make my life so much more easier once I register in the US or in the UK and have my payment systems a lot smoother for me.
Yeah. It's just
يعني
about
what-
streamlining. And if you
What
made
can you
things
say?
so easy to like streamline in a certain place, and then you can't really be confused if people kind of move towards that and then just kind of try to compete with whoever's there.
But do you think? I mean, you're not really competing in a sense because there's what 7 billion? Oh no, 8 or 9 billion people on the planet. 4 billion people are online. 2 billion of them speak English. So
Yeah, you're competing globally wherever you are. Man.
Exactly. And it's just a question of shipping cost, really.
Yeah.
In the world of
Who's
globalization.
going to take it to you? Who's going to take it there and for how much?
خلاص.
And if they are actually going to take it. Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating how things are being restructured at the moment and what's coming about. Would you do everything the same if you could go back 10 years?
I always ask myself this, and it's a tricky question, honestly. I think so, yeah. Because that's my reality, that's all I know. Yani, I don't know what would happen if I tried something else. And at this point in time, يعني, what I've done so far has been quite enjoyable. يعني, if I don't see a reason why try something different if I were to go back. If anything, يعني, if I were to go back,
Less
there'd
anxiety.
No, sorry?
Less anxiety, definitely, because you already know the outcome.
Yeah, because I know the outcome. يعني, I'll just do it all over again, but I'll just do it better.
Yeah.
بس يعني there would be small insignificant stuff like day-to-day stuff. يعني they wouldn't be like bigger picture kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, يعني these series of choices what brought you to where you're at now and like built your character. So it's hard to kind of tell yourself, oh, I would have done things differently, but then you'd be a completely different person.
صح.
So it's kind of like a paradoxical answer. Like, okay, I would maybe the answer would be to some people, I would have liked to do something differently and be okay with maybe completely being a different person. But no, I'm okay with where I'm at, who I am and what I've done and who I know. So I think I'd do things, but maybe I'd do them better without as many of the unnecessary mistakes. Some mistakes were very necessary.
Well, I mean, you know, you said it best. You worked on yourself. You mentioned a few months ago, and clearly you can tell. You look very confident, very chill.
Yeah.
ما شاء الله عليك كويس.
يعني it took a while. يعني after having my son, I took kind of like the year to slow down, really think about what was bothering me. Because when he first came out, I mentioned earlier that I went through like a creative slump where I was kind of almost thrown in the deep end. And at the same time, I didn't have my outlet where I was creating. Like when I sat down to kind of create, I wasn't being creative. I felt like my mind was like you know, when you open the TV up on like a unregistered or unmarked channel, it's just like fuzzy. It's just you see something, but you just don't know what it is. And I didn't have that focus. I didn't have that kind of clarity I had before. So I just had to kind of slow down and really think about things and think about the time I wanted to spend and how I wanted to spend it. Because it almost was like a reaction, like, okay, I'm not being creative, so I must have to sit down even more, spend more time trying to make. But then I was spending time away from, for example, spending time with them. طبعا I'm saying this, but I was spending more time. It's just maybe an hour a day, but like it's not days on end. But even then, an hour counts, you know. So after a while, I said, okay, this, as long as you accept that this is going to take a while for you to kind of be as creatively optimized as you were before, you're going to be fine. يعني I may not be producing as much, but I'm still producing. I will be able to produce more later on, but you just have to be fine with it. Take it day by day.
What's your muse at this stage now?
It's hard to tell, man. يعني for me, I don't have just one thing. It's just mostly what I see or observe. يعني I guess my drive is the magic of the mundane. يعني I like to observe day-to-day stuff that we just don't really think twice of, and just kind of put a magnifying glass towards and just kind of blow the image up in like whatever creative way I can think of. That's how Karak was born. That's how Hamur was born as well. They're kind of silly characters, but يعني they play on culture, they play on nostalgia, but at the same time, you wouldn't really think of these things twice. It's like, okay, I drink Karak every day. Why don't we just play with the idea of Karak? عادي زين. It's just a fun exploration. يعني that's why I like to call it the magic of the mundane. يعني there's magic in little things, and that's kind of what sparks these little ideas, and then I kind of incubate internally, and then I start to explore externally.
Since you're a big fan of architecture and you like the mundane, I think I have the perfect book for you. I wish I could gift it to you, but I don't have it, and I don't think you can find it in Bahrain because it's probably out of print.
What's it called?
It's called Holdouts Architecture. Holdouts. There, that's the book. There. That's the book.
The buildings that got in the way.
Let's see if we can find some pictures of it. So it's a whole book of beautiful stories of people who hold out sales for new enterprises and new buildings to being built.
Yeah, I love that.
And I
love those stories.
Can you look at some images on Google Images?
I think in some places in Germany they call them nail houses.
Yes.
And you just have like a huge development and then just one house in the middle.
The picture right there.
Because they stick out like a nail.
Nail, yeah.
Yeah.
And it, like, most people just ignore the mundane because they don't really think about it.
But there's a story behind that.
Absolutely. There's a fantastic book, and it talks about Macy's, for example, that won the NYC architecture holdout. Macy's, Danny? That one right there, the one with the red one. This one is a really, really famous story, for example. It's a fantastic book, and it talks about all these these unique little stories.
Yeah, the people that refuse to get out of the way.
There's in the book, there's a famous story about, normally with holdouts, as the seller, you have the right to sell when you choose.
Yeah.
Except, with preface, when it's governmental, when they're saying, well, listen, you
have no choice.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
And there's a very famous story in the book where the government got a write-off. They got a letter from the courts saying, "Khalas, your building is demolished. Goodbye."
Yeah.
Except they missed a 3-meter piece of patch on the ground.
Okay.
And the process of going through the lawyer system
it's just a headache.
It's just a headache. And they begged and pleaded with the family, and they said,
"3 meters."
"Those feekum." So there's a tiny little triangle.
Nice.
Can you look out the most famous holdouts in New York, and I'll show you the triangle. It's a fantastic book, and it's just a coffee book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just something you casually enjoy.
Exactly. It's beautiful. It's a little triangle on the. There it is. The holdout, the 99. Just that.
Wow. Property of the Hess estate.
Estate, which has never been deducted for public purpose. Beautiful, isn't it? Just a little.
It's quite powerful, man. They did not give up. They stood there.
Yeah, and they tried and they tried and they tried, but it just didn't happen. Halwa, huh?
Is it by the door?
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's right there.
Right by the door. As soon as you step in.
NYU's smallest private property.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I really wish I'll find the book. I'll find the book. I'll find the book, Habibi. Hadiya minni. I'll find the book and I'll try to get it for you. Can you close it, Danny? And there's a few other famous ones. That's that old. Where is it? No. That one there on the left. No, left. That one.
Oh,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's completely different than the other ones.
I love it. I love neocentric Gothic design as like a design language. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, they have a certain charm to them.
Yeah, it's like a bygone era. You know what I mean?
It gives you that kind of sense of mystery or wonder.
Absolutely.
Because you just can't relate, or you just all that era is just filled with imagination.
It also like to me that one screams a lot more home than the other two left and right, which are also
the other two as New York as it gets, but still feels a lot more standard or by the book.
Yeah.
Whereas this feels like, but to be honest, being contrasted or like sandwiched in between these two buildings make it stand out a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And raises a more interesting case as well.
Absolutely. Well, you told me like what kind of architecture products do you usually take on from the firm, from Shepherd?
It depends, honestly. We've done master plans. We've done a couple of, like when we first started out, we've done a bunch of houses, and then after our first or second year, I think we said just no more houses, done.
Boring or
they're
headache?
just too much. The time you'll spend working on it and trying to get things right, there's just too much subjectivity, and everyone in the house has an opinion. Like you can't just deal with one person. If you deal with that one person, then suddenly they share it with their daughter or their son, their wife, or whoever. And then another opinion comes to the table, and then things have to change and things drag on. And then what are you going to charge for like a concept like 2,000 dinars for 4 months worth of dragging on?
Interesting.
It's not worth it.
Interesting that you say that, because I know a guy here in Bahrain. He signs a retainer with whoever wants to get his architecture, and he just has a retainer, and he goes, listen, we do as many as many redesigns as you want, but you're being billed by the hour, you know?
Yeah. That's a very fair way to go about it. And at the start we weren't really going about it that way. We were just trying to get as many projects as we can, so we didn't want to kind of over extend ourselves by saying we'll do as many for a bunch of retainers and then just lose track, especially when we're just starting out. We don't want to do that to ourselves. And it's a good thing we didn't think of that, to be honest. We'd have dug a big hole for ourselves. But we've done those kinds of things. We've done master plans. We've done a couple of like multi-use developments as well. Most of them were like concept for clients that they never really kind of pushed on to go ahead and build.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff we end up building are like pavilions and smaller scale, I guess. I wouldn't say architectural master plans. It's more of events and like organizational master plans, like making sure. Like every year we work on Saudi Design Festival, or it used to be Saudi Design Week, and we used to basically construct or design and master plan how all of the things work together, and like how all the sponsors would interact and everyone's space and allocations, that kind of thing. But in terms of like large scale master plans, nobody has gone through just yet. As well as working on like small boutique buildings that we're kind of in the process of.
Is
So
that
it just
more
depends.
interior design or more architecture?
It's more architectural.
Okay.
We kind of offer the material finishes on a general sense, but like doing the interior in terms of decor and all of the furniture, for example, we normally advise the clients like we don't do that as a service, and it's best to have someone that you kind of are comfortable with or trust to take on that kind of scope. And we're happy to kind of communicate with them and make sure that their vision aligns with whatever we want or whatever we've designed for you. And at the same time, we're happy to cooperate if they have like some questions or they'd like to know more about how we went about things to streamline their end of the project.
We didn't have them on the show yet, but he's a personal friend of mine. He is a auditor, but on builders. So him and his buddy started this business, and they're alhamdulillah being very successful at it. And I never knew this industry existed. What they basically do is they're the touch point between the client and the builder, and so whenever units are being ordered, they do the arbitrage. They do the auditing on what the price of the market is and what the price the builder is charging.
Okay, interesting.
Right, and they're saving their clients, sometimes 20% of the total cost. Of course, builders,
they hate them.
they hate them.
Because you're taking away their margins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's fascinating, and I talked to him a bunch about it, and he says, listen, sometimes it's as severe where they charge for, like let's say piping. Let's say per meter, let's say hypothetically, whatever, it's a BD that the builders were charging sometimes up to 2.8 or something like that, And so he was saving a lot of money for clients. He got into a lot of fights with the builders, obviously, because they have to touch point and be like, hey, you need to justify why you're ordering this material from X, Y, or Z person instead of what the market rate is, And he advises clients, which I found was really interesting. He said it's best not to negotiate on price when you're negotiating with a builder. Negotiation should be on deadline with punishment fee.
Okay, yeah.
Meaning there's a deductible with every single day that it's not completed yet. And it has to be completed
you'd let them do their thing, but
exactly
the more you kind of carry this on forward more than you should, then we'll talk about it later.
Exactly. It's already. I mean, they just got into the business of writing up contracts now from a legal position as well.
Okay.
Because they want to branch out their consultancy from just doing auditing. And so the punishment fees can vary on how you structure it. Some people put like 1% every week that it's delayed, and that then takes from the total amount which the builder then gets as a profit, right?
Yeah.
And so it incentivizes the builder to
do the job
faster as possible, right? And it's really interesting, and it's especially with the clientele that he works. These are like larger like estates, commercial properties and stuff like that. He was telling me that there's their company now also does independent auditing of the structural.
Okay.
So not only do they do the financial, not only do they want to do the legal, but they also have someone who's a master engineer who comes there and then makes sure that it's being serviced and put together correctly, like on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And he's making good money.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. He's basically be the client's best friend.
Exactly.
At that point. So having that kind of savings would definitely do good in terms of referrals. Like they'd refer them to other people who they'd know who are building or starting to build a project, and just
you don't get a lot of referrals from the builders.
Would hate you. They say, like, if they're on the project, quit.
Yeah.
Go find something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Well,
Yeah.
what about you guys? I mean, you done architecture. You want to do more commercial, or you want to do more private property again?
Well,
What's the dream?
it's hard to define, honestly. The dream is to just kind of work on our own projects, like any of these crazy ideas we have. We just want to kind of execute on our own and just have our own kind of resource to do that. And we've been doing that for quite some time, but just depends. Like, so we have other bigger, crazier ideas, but we have also smaller, crazier ideas. So it really depends on the scale.
Do you think architecturally something like the frame could work in Riyadh?
Maybe. Who am I to say?
No, I mean,
Like, I say that because I could say yes, but then I won't be able to justify it, and then I could say no, and I still won't be able to justify it.
well, I can justify it for you because I feel like the frame is so perfectly Dubai, in sense.
When you talk about it in a practical sense, then yes, it's very Dubai,
Yeah,
100%. Like, that's their bread and butter. They do things that just
or just
only
out
you
there.
would do there.
Yeah.
But in Riyadh, يعني, you could do it, but I don't imagine a fond reaction would be had if it were to be.
It wouldn't
done
have
there.
the same impact.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
I like the frame, for example. I cannot see it working in New York. I cannot. It goes completely against the design language of New York.
Completely.
Doesn't go with Riyadh from my imagination of how I see Riyadh. But
And as well as the direction they're going as well.
Exactly. I mean, there's the frame, and then Dan, can you look up there's another one where they wanted to put like an island around Burj Khalifa, a circle.
Oh, this. Yeah, I saw this.
This is again very, very Dubai.
It's kind of crazy, honestly. I like it. But yeah, like you said, it's very Dubai. Only they can do that and then like make it fit.
Do you know what I mean? This would not work anywhere else. I feel.
Mm.
And I mean, you'd have to really.
I just want to see them build it.
I mean, it's a problem though, because you are taking a lot of. What's the right word? You are taking a lot of potential view away.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because inside the circle, the more you build inside of it, the less people will be able to see both from in out and out in, and vice versa. You're not going to be able to see
That's
the outside.
true.
Also, the other issue is it does break Burj Khalifa.
A bit, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
I don't know why they decided to do it like that, but
I don't know how
it's
else you would do
definitely
it.
new, يعني. It's a step in a futuristic direction, obviously. I don't hate it, although I don't
Love it
I
either.
don't completely love it. I'm intrigued by it. I love these kinds of designs, like this super slick, futuristic sci-fi kind of thing. It's fantastic. Although,
How will it look in 20 years though?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You build
Maybe 20 years later, or maybe 50 or 100 years later, that design language isn't what the future is actually looking like. It maybe looks a lot more straightforward and bland. I don't know. But yeah.
I mean, from what I read, it's meant to be a city within a city.
It definitely has the scale of a city, honestly.
So that's what I read on the architecture proposed.
Yeah.
The concept said that it will have offices, apartments, garden.
Yeah, that's massive, man.
Yeah. So I mean, it is it's difficult.
It's kind of dystopian as well, too.
That's what I was thinking.
And imagine having so much of your resources that you need on a day-to-day basis in one place, up in the sky, that you just don't need to leave anymore. Imagine you managed to get yourself a really good job there, and you have all the nice restaurants there, and you have a really nice apartment there, and you have a nice garden that you visit every now and then to get a breath of fresh air, but then why would I go down? Why would I bother going down?
It's very bourgeoisie, no?
It's kind of crazy, yeah.
If you think about it,
it is. I remember seeing a movie about this before.
Yeah.
I can't seem to remember what it was.
Yeah.
And people on the higher levels, they kept fighting, and they didn't want to go down because the people at the lower levels kind of resorted to savagery and started killing each other.
Yeah.
Which one?
The platform.
The platform.
I know there's a bunch of movies very similar to what he's talking about.
The concept, yeah, it's been explored before, but I remember seeing the movie. It was crazy.
Not the same.
No.
I know what film he's talking about.
It was like a building, and
it was
and people were dressed up in tuxedos in the higher levels, and everyone was like super fancy.
And your designation on what floor meant how important you were.
Exactly,
I remember
the higher floor you are, the more you're I guess.
Just type in class system building movie.
Let's see if that brings in the results. High rise.
The high rise?
Yeah.
Because I remember the platform.
It was insane.
Just type in images. Just show it the images. Yes. You're right.
Crazy.
And I had the guy who played Loki. I don't remember his name. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of gives me that energy.
The vibe, I get you.
But we'll see how it plays out.
I get you. But again, like that kind of a project, I would only see working in Dubai.
Yeah.
I would not see that around Riyadh or New York.
Yeah, it's the only place where you can treat it as a playground and it would fit.
يعني
Riyadh, they really they have very strong preferences when it comes down to these kinds of things. So you can't really pull that off. You can, but you're not going to get a good reaction out of it.
Well, we had an architecture on the show once, and we talked about how there are very few cities left on the planet who are wholly unique from a skyline perspective. And he brought up Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is one of the few cities in the world that built their buildings based on Tai Chi.
Really?
Yeah, type it in. Can you show us a Hong Kong? Is it Tai Chi? Whatever that energy system that they use. Buildings? Or Chi buildings? No, there's a specific term. I forgot what is it feng shui?
Oh yeah, feng shui. That's
Is it
it's like the balance of
stuff.
Yeah.
So because their building philosophy, there you go. Hong Kong puts holes in them for feng shui. There you go.
Ah, yeah.
Because they believe that allows like energy to like maneuver.
Pass through, yeah.
And so you have these like really interesting, unique designed buildings.
Yeah, no, 100%. Hong Kong is quite a unique skyline.
Can you type in feng shui in Hong Kong and see what shows up for other buildings? Yeah, wow. Look at the first picture. Constructionally, it's quite impressive.
We have the Four Seasons.
Yeah. maybe that's how that came about.
That's how they started now with the feng shui.
What do you think of the Four Seasons design? There's Four Seasons, and then there's another one which is like almost like a rotating.
The Wyndham.
Is it?
Wyndham, the hotel.
Which one? Yeah, it's like
like a spiral.
Spiral. Which one do you like more between the two, design-wise?
The Four Seasons.
The Four Seasons. It is a more interesting, eye-catchy design.
Mostly because of how they've incorporated the whole thing when it comes down to even like the landscape and the entrance and all of that. The other one is just like pop.
Dan, can you look it up? There's a spiral building, I don't know where, that actually moves.
Really?
So the spiral, like
each
each floor.
slab, yeah, each floor would.
I don't remember if they built it or was it just a design concept.
That's interesting.
Like you I wouldn't know how.
Maybe it was revealed conceptually.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's the dynamic tower or something like that.
Could be.
Uncovering AI construction, dynamic tower. Proposed, yeah, 4 media designed by Dave. Yeah, this is going to just show you Bahrain. Interesting, no?
Yeah. Conceptually, it's pretty interesting, but once applied, if it works, then great.
I don't see why it shouldn't. I mean, you'd be pissed off if your floor doesn't move, though. What do you think about
maintenance? Would be an issue.
Oh boy, that you are correct. I think there's a picture of how they imagined how it would work.
Yeah,
left,
like
left,
shape
left,
shift a bit.
Left. There you go. So it'd be like sections on a roller, like a Lazy Susan.
So the core is what's driving everything.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept. Wallah, it's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
Rotating tower development in Dubai. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
There you go.
Have you put any bids for larger end buildings or not really?
No, it's not something we're looking to do just yet.
Just yet, but do you want to do or?
We have the idea. It would be nice, although I guess maybe the right one hasn't just come. Yeah, we're not actively seeking, but if we do get the chance, we definitely are not shy on joining and doing it. But at the moment, maybe not just yet. We're just focusing on what we're working on at the moment, as well as like getting the projects we're kind of experimenting on right now into a more developed stage.
Yeah. I mean, I find it interesting. I mean, if you have the potentiality, especially from an architectural perspective, of being able to place bids all around the world, right? I mean, you're not just locked in for the GCC.
No, yeah.
Right? And the great thing about architecture is that you can reuse designs as well. And bids that didn't collapse there.
Yeah. We try not to though. Like we rarely do that. And the only time we actually do reuse designs, and we don't even use them in its entirety, we just use like certain elements and languages, only when it's for something that we've worked on and then just nothing happened and it just stayed internal, where we just kind of bring it into something else if it were appropriate. But we don't just take something that we've designed for someone else and then just do it again for someone else. It's not how we operate. If it hasn't seen the light of day and nobody knows about it, then it's permissible to think about using it.
Well, I think it's permissible as long as it's, even if you used it on a bid but it's not been successful. I don't think there's...
maybe for pitching a couple of times for bids,
Yeah.
I guess, you could try maybe just to kind of solidify a certain design language or an aesthetic. But when it comes down to like client work, it's not nice.
Appropriate.
For them. Like, you want each one to be proud of what you've given them. Like, the last thing you want is to give someone else something that's quite similar to another person you've worked for.
And how does the bidding process work? I mean, do you submit a design after they contacted you, or internally in the market you hear rumors that X building is potentially happening and then you contact them saying, hey, you know
Recently, we haven't been looking around and putting in proposals and doing so much as pitching as we used to. We used to be quite proactive in trying to get as many projects as we can in the beginning, just trying to get our feet off the ground. But as time went on and we've built that kind of reputation, we've become a lot more selective, and we just kind of take on projects that we feel are a lot more appropriate and are engaging or interesting to work on. The client as well is also a huge part of it. If the client is quite enthusiastic and is we know that it's going to be a good experience working with them. We then normally take on the project and see what they want, and then that's where we kind of propose something to them based off the requirements and whatever design we kind of reach towards. But in terms of like looking around and like pitching, we stopped doing that quite a while ago.
Okay.
Because it just takes up too much time. The last thing you want to do is just pitch for like 5 different projects,
And none of them come through, or
you know
whatever.
that you could be doing other stuff in the meantime that could actually do come to life, you know.
And it's more financially feasible as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like the priority isn't just like jumping around. Honestly, not really. And I came here just with the intent of having a good conversation, seeing where it goes, and
I hope we delivered.
yeah, honestly, it was a good time. Yeah, I enjoyed it. We touched on some good topics. The book recommendation was really interesting. Having the
I'll get it for you,
holdout.
حبيبي. على خشمي وعلى الشحم.
تسلم ما قصرت. بس yeah, I had a good time, man. يعني it's not really that experience in doing podcasts. يعني it was a interesting change of pace. So yeah, no, I have nothing to cover.
Cover?